When I started getting into personal development, I understood that being a constant learner was incredibly important. So I would go to Amazon and I would buy books. I bought hundreds of books on Amazon. But very quickly, life got in the way, the books didn't get read, and they kept piling up on the bookshelf. Now, most people think that this is a bad habit. They think there's a lot of wasted money, a lot of wasted time, and a lot of chaos. You should read the books you have before you buy more books. But I've kept this habit up to today, and it's actually been incredibly beneficial for my life. It's allowed me to be smarter, it's allowed me to learn quicker, and it's allowed me to be more curious and excited for life. It's one of the closest things I've had to a quick hack or a quick fix in order to read more and learn more. So let me explain the 3 reasons why, and then there's going to be an action step at the end of the video so that you can apply this material. The anti-library is a concept first brought up by Nassim Taleb in his book Anti-Fragile, where he brought up Umberto Eco, who had a library full of 30,000 books. Now, there's no way that Umberto could ever get around to reading all of these books, but to him that wasn't the purpose. To him, that was a reminder to stay curious, an intellectual reminder of how much left there is to explore and to learn on this planet, and it helped keep a fire within his belly to keep on learning. The Japanese actually have a word for this called Tsundoku. And I was actually speaking with Eben Pagan just yesterday, and he was explaining to me about his child had a passion in horse riding. And he just let his child follow her curiosity. And then she came back a couple weeks later and she had learnt about taking care of animals. She had learnt about money because she had to buy some hooves for the horse. She was able to learn so much more about the earth than he could ever give her by trying to force it into her. So simply by following our curiosity, we can achieve and learn incredible things. Not necessarily in the domain that we're trying to get into, but just following things that we're curious about. The second benefit relates to my favorite curve in microeconomics, the supply and demand curve. There is demand for a good, that is how many consumers want to buy the good, and then there is supply for a good. That's how many producers want to sell the product. And where these 2 curves meet up determines the price at which the good is sold at in the marketplace, and the quantity, how many of those products are sold at that price. Now, when most people are procrastinating and they're not getting things done, they think the solution to that is to remove things off of their plate, to decrease demand for their time. They think that if I'm not getting all of these activities done, I need to cut things back so that therefore I can focus on the activities that are important and get those done. But in the procrastination program, I found the opposite to be true. I found that if you increase the demand for your time, you have a greater demand for your time than supply, you actually get more done because there's a sense of urgency. So by adding more onto your plate, you can actually get the original stuff done, plus a whole lot more. And by having lots of books that I want to read, the demand for my time is increased massively. There are books that are going to take me tens and dozens and hundreds and even thousands of hours for me to read. It's a constant reminder that there's more that I could be doing with my time, that my time is finite and there's a limited amount of time, and therefore I've got to treat that time incredibly carefully. By buying a ton of different books, whatever you're curious about, you're able to domain hop and unlock a really powerful insight that a lot of people don't realize. If we break down the universe into its first principles, we're left with atoms, and atoms interact with each other in incredibly predictable ways. The laws of physics like gravity and the laws of thermodynamics like entropy. All of these laws form the operating system of the universe, and science has allowed us to uncover part of the code that is operating this universe. These basic laws create complex behavior. But because everything is made out of the same things, because we can boil down the world into the first principles, and the first principles of one field is similar to the first principles of another field, it's very common for us to see patterns in places that most people don't see patterns. Let's take the example of activation energy. Activation energy is the minimum amount of energy required for a chemical reaction to occur. If we have a piece of paper, it takes around 230 degrees Celsius before that piece of paper lights on fire. There is energy, which creates fire, which creates more energy, which creates more fire. This is how a fire spreads. And then we think about YouTube or virality. A video needs a certain amount of traction or a certain amount of buzz or a certain amount of energy or a certain amount of people to click on it before it goes viral. A video gets traction, people share it with their friends, which means the video has more traction and it's shared again and again and again. There are so many interlinking factors. And we start to learn that activation energy, a concept taken from physics or chemistry, can be applied to multiple different areas in our life. Maybe not scientifically, but the same principle applies there nonetheless, and we can start to learn principles from one area and master a completely other area before we even step foot into it. By becoming a master of one field, you become great at all fields because of the way the universe is interlinked and because of the similarities between multiple different fields. So what I do is I buy tons of different books in different areas that interest me. Even if the book isn't necessarily a topic that's directly related to something I'm trying to solve, by reading the book I'm able to absorb a lot of information. And because on this channel we're time theorists and we take action, the first action step is to think of a field that you're curious about. The second action step is to buy a book in that field and try and figure out how you can apply the lessons from a different field into your primary field of study. However, reading may not always be the best use of your time, and there's a video on screen right now that shares with you why, even though you could have lots of books, it's not always wise to read those books. Click on that video now, and if you've enjoyed this video, click like and subscribe, and I'll see you in that video.